you know, you said Media Pixels, they are brave enough to choose the Finn. Do you think they'll bring it out once again?
I think if it's not banned away, they're definitely going to grab it again. Mowgli has just absolutely dominated with that hero, and it's just, it's right there on the ban.
That's a little bit sad. I was really looking forward to seeing that Finn once again coming out of Mowgli, but I mean, he has done such a good job just catching everyone with that Force Accord. And I'm sure that Rebirth of Empire just did not want to deal with it. Rome, what do you think Rebirth of Empire will pick after they see the Sky ban?
They're probably going to take an Adagio ban. Looking at their comps that they've actually been playing so far, it's actually better fitting that they do pick Adagio over picking up the Arden, whereas Media Pixel will probably pick up this Arden and probably a Kroll or Rona to go with it.
All right, so a Kroll Rona. We see the Rona right there, and a CF Kroll? No, probably not Kroll. So what else? Oh, the Arden, of course.
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff coming out of Rome. Just he knows these teams, you know, like the back of his hand. And Rebirth Empire, now it's their turn. What will they take?
I feel like they have to be very, very aggressive in the jungle here. Like, they need to be able to push in that aggression, whereas Media Pixel is always on the back end. Like, they can't be given any room to move because once they get control of that jungle, we saw how much scout traps they put in the other games. We saw how much vision. They were so controlled and so focused on getting that jungle vision that it doesn't give the other team like any opportunities to actually make any initiative moves.
All right, so he's saying that they need to this early game. What do you think they will take?
Koshka probably. We do see them running a lot of Vox, and this is actually a pretty good opportunity for them to play the Vox as long as he's able to get those breaking point stacks off. And looking at the builds of like Aftershocks and stuff like that, I do feel like he's not going to pick a Vox.
All right, so we do see a Koshka and Fortress come out. So incredibly powerful composition coming out of the jungle. They will be able to take Media Pixel's eSports jungle duo. So Arden, Rona versus Fortress Koshka. Or, you know, Media Pixel might be saying Rona into lane. Do you think that's going to be the case, or do you think they'll just pick another laner?
With Media Pixel here is like they're going against a very aggressive comp. Like this is probably even crazier than having Ringo, Koshka, and Fortress. So they have to play this out really smart. If they're not able to have like a laner that is able to rotate down, or if their jungle is playing too passively, they're just going to keep getting pressured and pressured. So on the side of Media Pixel here is, I'm guessing that they might do with a Glaive 3 melee.
All right, so Glaive might be coming out. Let's see. We see the Scarf. So the standard Scarf and Rona, very, very powerful combo right there. And looking at these team comps, do you think there's anything that stands out? I mean, Rebirth Empire, you said they're going to be very powerful in the early game. Media Pixel, on the other hand, will scale pretty well into the late. Which team do you think has the advantage?
I think Rebirth of Empire has an advantage here because on the other team you have such late scaling heroes and for sure like level 1 aggression that they're going to see a lot of it. So on Media Pixel side is, what can they do? Like, how are they going to get through this like early levels? Scarf isn't able to rotate down that much. He has to stick to that lane. He has to get that CS. While Rona, being very strong in the mid and late game, she's going to run into this Fortress Koshka, and that's going to be trouble for them.
Right, and before you hop into this match, any last thoughts and potentially some item builds or anything in particular that either team has to look out for?
Crucibles are going to have to be running up on Media Pixel's team for sure. Like, they have to be able to dodge that Adagio ult and Koshka's ult, but on Media Pixel's side is like, they have to be able to find a way to like get a bunch of early health in the game. Like, they can't be forcing up too many team fights in the middle jungle until like later into the game. So we're looking for a Scarf to just go straight heavy CP, being able to pull from that back end. But what's really important is how far Scarf can actually get in terms of CS.
Most certainly. And taking us into the game will be Forecourt Dresser and Tasty Bacon once again. Take it away.
Thank you, Z-Ken, and we are now getting underway for the finals. This is what the past 3 days, and even the past month, has been all leading up to. It is this matchup right here, Media Pixel Esports taking on Rebirth of Empire.
Yeah, and as we said, day number 1, game number 1. In fact, actually, we covered that. It was Media Pixels up against Rebirth of Empire, and that was like the whole very beginning, number 1 versus number 8 seed. Media takes it 2-0 in convincing fashion. Now, after so much growth, after so many games, and getting to know everyone, they're on the stage. These guys have really grown as teams. Will be the same result. I mean, Rome said he's thinking Rebirth of Empire might take this one. I've been the only other one really to agree with him in that regard. Everybody else I talked to is just like Media Pixel. They came in, they're the ones to beat. There's a lot of expectations for both teams, and well, game number 1, it's going to be setting the tempo.
Yeah, and I mean, no matter, obviously you have the side of Rebirth who has just looked better and better each day and each round of this tournament. but Media Pixel has been consistent. They have just dominated almost all of their opponents here at the live finals. And I didn't get a chance to be asked for my prediction before the game.
Do it
but
quick, do it quick.
I'm going to say I do still think that it is going to be Media Pixel walking home as the champion.
Everyone's kind of against us here, the Canadians versus the world. But with Rebirth of Empires, so they did lose out their first games on day 1, but they went 2-0, 2-0, now today 2-1. Media Pixel eSport hasn't lost yet. They have been 2-0s all the way here. That, again, like the whole growing mentality of that one, will they be able to deal with a loss, especially into this final brackets on a team that they 2-0'd a little bit earlier? That could be a big momentum shift in the mentality when it comes to these next possibly 5 games.
Of course, the question there is also, will they even have to deal with it, as they are going in for a big gank in the lane?
That's a good start for Media Pixel as they do take down that Adagio very quickly. Palmataro did take a good brunt of damage right there, but he's going to be okay. Net Toilette and Upfair just not able to really bring enough damage this early game, which is kind of surprising because, of course, it is Koshka and Fortress. Again, that kind of dynamic duo, the standard for early aggression.
Yeah, and that's really, like you said, it's very surprising that they didn't actually get the pressure that they wanted. Usually when you have the Koshka Fortress, you're not going into the lane right away. You're going into the enemy jungle, trying to make something happen down in the lower portion of the map. But they went up into the lane and didn't get anything off of it. Of course, not much was picked up after that kill, so it's not like it really changed the course of the game. In fact, they are actually behind by about 400 gold despite picking up that kill. So they didn't gain anything off of it, but at the same time, they still at least didn't have their jungle stolen away or anything of that sort.
Nah, and Kavalifar coming back into the lane because he did go home a little bit early there. He does pick up an energy battery, so some mana regeneration, so he will have that lane presence. It will equal out the gold once he catches up into that minion wave, but at the same time, Upfire, Net Toilette, they're looking to do some counter jungling. Unfortunately, they're just not finding any of those spawns, at least not yet. We'll have to see if they do stick around. Great Kali again, just trying to be, just trying to keep the Scarf a little bit more on the back foot, a little bit more on edge, and he's been using the Gift of Fire actually pretty usefully in that regard.
Yeah, doing a really good job of spacing out the auto attacks to make sure that that passive stays stacking onto Great Kali, and it's pretty even. Look in the lane, they both have 22 CS, even in the jungle, 17-15. So a very, very close matchup here within the first 3 minutes. Both teams farming exceptionally well.
Now, a big difference in terms of the items, at least this early on, is that Mowgli has double of the Okarts, 200 health, so he's a far and ahead clear victor. Nobody else even has 4 digits, and we'll have to see if that comes out very nicely here because Great Kali, they collapse upon him, but now we're turning the damage back around. Palmatar down to about half, but Mowgli, even with that extra health, is that going to be enough? It's not. The one last shot there from Great Kali puts them on the board with a kill, and again, early on, 1 kill might not mean the difference, but now with this 1 kill going to Rebirth of Empire, can they actually do any kind of big counter? Can they get any jungling out of it? Doesn't really look like they're going to get the chance.
Yeah, no, nothing's going to come off of that kill. So again, kill going over, that's great, but nothing happened afterwards. The game still stays pretty much even.
Gotta say though, if Mowgli didn't have that extra 400 hit points, he would have went down a lot faster. I'm not entirely too sure Palmataro would be out in the jungle if that was the case, since we would have been able to switch targets. But as they come back into it again, not a huge difference in terms of the gold, about 400 or so, still anybody's game, and the gold miners finally entered the fold.
Kavalifar's accuracy with these Spitfires is really impressive as he connects with another one onto Great Kali. He is just peppering him with those. Kali's having to use a lot of his own energy just to keep himself healing up. And because he's not in the enemy minions at the time, he doesn't get that energy regen for dealing damage. Yeah,
and that's definitely a good credit there to Kavalifar, especially since he does have an energy battery, and well, his opponent kind of doesn't right now. In fact, Great Kali came back to lane with a weapon blade.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I hope it's
early,
not
I suppose.
A full-on weapon power Adagio. Of course, it could
That'd be something, wouldn't it?
That would be. It would. I don't think it would be something terribly effective.
No.
I have seen it before. You do still get you get to do a ton of damage because of the fact that the Agent of Wrath is a % damage increase. So you do actually end up doing a ton with your auto attacks, but it's just in my opinion, is nowhere near as effective as a Crystal Power Adagio.
Now, if it is going to be a swap over to Crystal Power, that does put us into a double Crystal Power comp for Rebirth of Empire.
Yeah, that's not that big of a deal, I think, against this team specifically.
Great Kelly is just saying, all right, I'll answer your question for you. He gets a lot more weapon power. Look at this combo, though. Cavalifar just going to be dropping low. This is a weapon power Adagio.
Yeah, so bringing out something a little unconventional here in the finals, maybe hoping to catch Media Pixel a little bit off guard with it.
Well, I mean, SK Gaming tried a roaming Kroll. That kind of, well, no, it didn't work at all.
Yeah, well, Rebirth of Empire hoping to have some better luck here in these finals. And again, it's not the worst of ideas. Like, you do get a ton of damage. You're gonna be, I believe, what, 70% extra damage, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it is huge. So he is able to do a lot with those auto attacks, but the problem is you're taking away pretty much all of his utility.
Right, so, all right, Glass Cannon can be useful, but only when it's still standing by the end of it. Cavalifar here into the lane, he is going to have to deal with the 3-man, but, I mean, I do believe were spotted out, and you can see him just kind of staying a bit more off. He's going to check out that bush as well, throw that goop down, and, you know, nothing really going to come out of this. Rebirth of Empire should just go back into their own jungle, and as long as the Great Kali just stays a little bit farther back, he should be okay as well. As we can see, Media Pixel is going to be sticking around here just for a few moments, but, again, like, a little bit of a slower start here to our best of 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Only 2 kills thus far at the first 7 minutes. And again, I'm not terribly surprised. It's the finals. There's so much on the line for the victor of this series that you don't want to be going in recklessly. You don't want to be, going all out aggression until you get a feeling for how your opponent is also going to be playing.
All right, Net Toilette picks up something that we do see quite a bit. Aftershock here first, about the 7-minute mark, and Cavalifar has done enough in lane to pick himself up a Frostburn.
Yeah, you also have Upfire getting the Fountain of Renewal, while Mowgli decided to opt for the Crucible as the first item there on the Roamer. So 2 different sort of styles, I guess, of supporting the team, as one's going to be offering that shield and able to block out the Koshka ultimate, which is the main reason for it, is to prevent that Yummy Catnip Frenzy, whereas the other, they want the health regen to help combat the insane amount of ticking damage from Scarf.
So how much longer is the gold mine going to be standing neutral? That's a question that I have for these teams. Media Pixel is, of course, wandering around, putting down some good scout traps. Mowgli's coming in. He does not have that gauntlet. Tower has actually been taking some pretty decent hits. The turret is now going to be regenning a little bit for that shield, but that is something that Media Pixel perhaps wasn't expecting.
Yeah, and it was a little bit strange. They charged in as if they were looking for a fight, and then we're just like, no, we just wanted to push you off the turret.
Did we use the boots there on that Arden? Yeah, we did, but he wasn't 6. Like, there was no gauntlet. There's nothing to set up for there. He is 6 now. Upfire actually needs to kind of finish that off. He's just barely not there. But it is, something to be said. Another extra button for Mowgli versus Upfire.
Yeah, he's extremely close to hitting that level 6, but again, it is an advantage, and now it looks like they might be looking for a fight here. Media Pixel, there's the gauntlet.
Yeah, the gauntlet won't actually hit Great Kali, but looks like he's just going to be sacrificed into the midst of it as well. Maybe he should have hit the stun and made a break for it, but either way, that's going to be the 2nd kill now for Media Pixel, and finally, somebody's going to get the gold mine. There's not a steal ready to go, and Rebirth of Empire just got to eat that loss.
Yeah, and now the gold has finally swung over in favor of Media Pixel, as Rebirth had been holding on to a lead just from the farming, and now they're going to look to actually take it right back by picking up that turret. And a bit of a lapse of rotation knowledge there from the side of Media Pixel, just kind of letting that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was very evident on the map as well. I mean, they had to clear out several of those minions. You did see the Fortress actually guarding out the bush, just making sure if they were going to be trying to charge up here, Koshka would at least get away. But, gold mine and a kill for a turret. Believe it or not, that puts us back in the lead here for Rebirth of Empire, at least gold-wise.
Yeah, and there's a lot of debate as to which one is better to get in that situation, if you want the gold miner or if you want the turret. And there's so many different ways to go about it. It is really personal preference at that point. Do you want the map control of having that turret gone, having one less spot for your opponent to be able to retreat to, or do you want the gold miner to get the stacking gold buff as long as you can defend it, the extra vision on the map. It's entirely personal preference as to what the teams want. And judging off of that, MediaPixel, they value that vision in the middle of the map a lot more than that map control in the lane.
Well, something that has guided me through the years in MOBAs is, does it respawn? The gold mine, of course, does. It's a very contestable thing. The turret, however, does not. So taking an objective like that where you can't actually recover it, especially if you have no other real options, it's not a bad way to go. It almost never fails you in that regard.
Yeah, and so again, now they have the ability to put more pressure onto this lane. And the side of MediaPixel, if they have to back away from a fight, they have to back to their tier 2 turret,
very much farther,
which gives the entire middle of the map over to the side of Rebirth.
Oh, MediaPixels, they're going to find Net Toilette right there. No reflex block and a very dead kitten, as that is just not going to be going the way of Rebirth of Empire whatsoever.
Yeah, they do pick up that 1 kill. Now trying to chase down for another onto Great Khali. No. But he is, again, doing quite a bit of damage with that Sorrow Blade completed. Did
we actually have the puppies come out? Yeah, we did. It's not MIQ. Upfire up into the lane is actually going to get chased all the way back through. And he's very low on the hit points. Scarf and Mowgli really trying to make that a 2-for-0 exchange, as they're now going to be putting on some pressure here into the lane against their opponent's turret. But by the end of it all, again, the gold lead is flip-flopping pretty decently, but it's still a very small edge going either way.
Yeah, it's not really like you can sit there and say, oh, they're doing so well, look at how much their gold lead is. It's back and forth. This game is so close right now that you can't just look at any one stat on the scoreboard and say that one of the teams has an advantage. However, they are going to be jumping in, trying to get onto Kvalifar, but with the help of Arden, is going to be able to back away. And they actually turn this back around, getting a ton of damage out onto Upfire.
Well, if you look at Scarf, not only is it the Frostburn, but in Eve of Harvest to go with a Piercing Shard. Doesn't really seem to matter how much shield, not that there's a ton on top of Upfire, or Net Toilette to that factor, but all right, Adagio, all right. Breaking Point's going to be coming out to this weapon, Adagio, and he has a Sorrow Blade on the back of that as well.
It seems like pretty much everyone is deciding, hey, if I'm gonna focus on attacking, I'm getting a breaking point. You know, if there's red items in the inventory, let's make one of them a breaking point. As Adagio, again, with that percent damage increase from Agent of Wrath, if he can get a few stacks up onto the breaking point and then get Agent of Wrath down, that's going to be massive. But here's, speaking of massive.
Yeah, only if he lives will that actually be effective. Net Toilette still has no reflex block and way too deep into that sandwich. She is unfortunately just going to go down once more. We did actually use the Dragonfire, and again, Great Khali a little bit too far forward. Scarf is doing fantastic work, and an ace is going to go the way of MediaPixel. Scarf is just doing ridiculous amounts of damage with the Spitfires. You said it earlier, his accuracy is phenomenal, and he has a ton of crystal to back it up.
Yeah, they get one turret. They still have ace buff minions. They are low, but they're going to start working on the second turret. Scarf deletes turrets from the game, as we're seeing right now. That's 2 turrets picked up off of the single ace, and the immense gold payout as well. That decision to take the gold miner and give up the turret now seems to be a very good one for MediaPixel.
Well, of course, if you can't take it back, then yes, you will be in a very good standing stead. As MediaPixel 6-1 and now blowing up that gold lead to about 5,000 between the teams. As you said, Scarf deleting out those turrets. That's a heck of a lot of cash now to everyone.
Yeah, the other really big thing about that fight, Kvalifar and Palmatoro each picked up an infusion.
Yes, they did.
Before it. They knew they wanted to fight right at that time. It was just when the gold mine was going to be getting close to paying out, they figured there was probably going to be a fight over the gold miner. Instead, they just take those infusions, go into the lane, and make the play happen themselves. And that is really big. They're not waiting for the play to come to them. They're saying, okay, we're prepared for it to come to us, but if it doesn't, we're just going to bring the fight to you. And they played it so well. And
MediaPixel has pretty much just taken the fight to Rebirth of Empire repeatedly this matchup. 14.5 minutes in, it looks like somewhere between tiny and decent for a payout coming up next, as the Kraken is going to be here in the next 15 seconds. But 6 kills won. Pretty much every set of advantageous fights from MediaPixel had been punishing Net Toilette. because he didn't have that reflex block. Now we do, which means that that tool is just not quite going to be the same. But there goes the puppies. That's going to be cooped into the back. Great Khali's going to be coming up here. Yummy Catnip Frenzy. Finally, it looks like a good fight for Rebirth of Empire, but now there's going to be a Dragon Breath into the back. Kavalafar will actually trade out kill for kill, but the Great Khali just has no answer to the Palmataro, and now it's going to be up to Upfire to avoid this ace buff. Palmataro is saying no dice. He's going to catch right up, had the Vanguard. Red missed there as well. Upfire has nowhere to go, and that is going to be right through the turret and an ace. 9 kills to 2, and possibly another turret.
Yeah, the minions are there, and of course Palmataro, he actually takes way too many turret shots. They weren't quite able to actually break the turret aggro, so they are not going to get that turret after the ace, in fact. So a little bit of a misplay there to, thought that they were out of the turret range and then went back in.
What about Kraken? Scarf's not kind of
definitely
making it
too
over.
risky.
Yeah.
Not with everyone else being up. However, that fight, Kavalafar with that Dragon Breath, absolutely huge. The Broken Myth was at full stacks, and then he was able to lifesteal off of it with that Eve of Harvest as well, and it was hitting 2 members the entire time. Really, really big ultimate to turn the fight around.
Tons of damage, veritably, because he is now sitting at 4-1-4 and 165 minions to his name. Definitely the leader when it comes to the cash, and Kavalafar once again showing that these guys are here to win. 8th seed or not, they're in the finals. They have gone undefeated, and at this current rate, it is definitely not showing any signs of stopping. Net Toilette is going to be caught, and well, not really able to turn a lot of that damage. The reflex block kept him alive for a little bit longer, but Scarf, another one in the bag.
Yeah, Kavalafar is just playing like an absolute monster, picking up now 5 kills with 4 assists. And you look over on the other side, Great Khali, the weapon power Adagio just hasn't panned out. 1-4-1.
That's a mild way to put it.
Yeah, it's the polite way to put it. As the Kraken does get picked up, more infusions being picked up from both sides now, and they are just going to probably look to push in with this Kraken and see if they can't get the win.
Double Shiver Steel as Adagio picks that up into his inventory. Okay. I'm not sure that's going to be an answer here to some of these engages, but then again, I'm not really too sure where Great Khali was going to go with this weapon power Adagio in the first place.
Yeah, again, it hasn't worked out. It can work, but not in this situation, as now the turret is getting melted and the fight is going to happen.
Yeah, it's done. Look for a gauntlet right there. There it is. Net Toilette. He will actually use the reflex to safety. Will live through it. Palmataro is going to keep these guys in that base, but the Kraken's going for this turret, and Kavalafar is helping it along its way. Upfires now is a big target. Red miss. It's going to be enough. We do get the Dragon's Breath just before the Dragon himself drops, with Media Pixels is going to take down Great Khali. The Kraken is still standing in healthy regard, and this is going to be game 1 to Media Pixel Esports.
Yeah, and game 1 in a rather decisive